I'm Australian, as you said. I've lived here for 8 years and I was diagnosed 7 years ago, so after I moved here. So after my second pregnancy, I had a very upset stomach and was reacting to anything and everything. But when I went to a doctor here, she listened to me talk about my symptoms, in particular that I seem to have a vitamin B deficiency showing up as a patchy tongue. And she immediately said, "You've got celiac disease." I said, no, I love gluten. Gluten's fine. It was really hard, and especially because difficulty kind of communicating and explaining to people. And you're spending hours in the shops just reading the back of labels and trying to recognize all of the different words that could indicate gluten. And you feel awful, but at the same time, if they had any idea the consequences if you don't, if you're not careful, and how sick you can get. I knew it was a risk going there, but I really wanted to go there for my kids and wanted to be part of it.
And you were told, but how is it living at home and co-living with gluten eaters?
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome again to the FUT TALKS interviews that I'm doing in the project No Limits about traveling the world with allergies and intolerance. And here I am with Trisha from Gluten-free in Norway, that she has an Instagram profile sharing recipes, tips, and other stuff related to gluten-free, because she was diagnosed with celiac disease a few years ago. And I'm so excited because she comes from Australia, which is country well known for being one of the gluten-free paradises in the world. And we will be talking about Norway, but also Australia. So Trisha, please introduce yourself a bit and explain or share how you were diagnosed and how did you start with the gluten-free adventure.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Australian. As you said, I've lived here for 8 years and I was diagnosed 7 years ago. So after I moved here to this country.
So you didn't know back there?
I didn't know. So I didn't appreciate the paradise that I was living in. And it's not just for gluten-free food, it's food in general.
Yeah.
Food availability in Australia is incredible. And yeah, then coming to live in this country, learning a whole new language, way of living, culture, and also living with an allergy that's, I think, quite, it's not only inconvenient, it's also very tricky with terms of crumbs and how careful you have to be about everything.
Cross-contamination and so on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's been quite a journey, absolutely. And I have 2 kids and who were born in Australia. Norwegian husband, who's very understanding and very good at coping with a bit of a gluten-free life.
So you arrived here being non-celiac or
Correct.
Without being diagnosed?
Without being diagnosed, yeah.
And after a while, you were diagnosed. But before we were talking that you already had some symptoms, but you didn't know what was really the cause?
Yeah, so after my second pregnancy, I had a very upset stomach and was reacting to anything and everything. I went to a doctor in Australia not long after my daughter was born, and he shrugged it off and told me it's just, changes after a pregnancy, everything will turn to normal, don't worry about it. And then a year later, when I was living here, it was still bad. So, and I had tried excluding milk. I had tried excluding virtually everything except for gluten, because gluten seemed to do quite well. And I love pasta and bread and croissants, and especially Norway's got such good bread and such good pastries.
Okay.
I loved all of those things. So it didn't occur to me that that would be the problem. But when I went to a doctor here, she listened to me talk about my symptoms, in particular that I seem to have a vitamin B deficiency showing up as a patchy tongue. And she immediately said, "You've got celiac disease." I said, no, I love gluten. Gluten's fine. I think it's probably milk. And she said, "You've got celiac disease."
But did you have the patchy tongue also in Australia? And they didn't relate, or?
Yes, I think I did, but it was inconsistent. So I wasn't really aware of what it was. And the kids, my son was a toddler at the time, and he had...
You want to put the
Norwegian
weather.
Yeah.
It's what
you can grab the remote if you...
Oh yeah, of course.
Just there.
When I arrived, it was sunny, perfect day, but this is the weather. In a few minutes, we'll be sunny again.
Yeah, we can put the awning back. There we go. All right. My son was a toddler and was going to a daycare, and you know, he'd come home with a different virus every week. So a lot of the time we thought it was some sort of virus we were catching from him. And but no, I didn't recognize it as a vitamin deficiency when I was living in Australia. No.
So you recognized a vitamin deficiency by blood tests here or by the patchy tongue?
Because I had the patchy tongue, she said, let's do a blood test for celiac disease. She tested me for a whole range of other things as well. But it was the celiac disease test that came back conclusively that I definitely had the disease.
So it was let's say the pregnancy that kind of hid
well, she thought
reason?
The pregnancy was what through the gene that I was already carrying. She thought it must have been dormant before the pregnancy, and the pregnancy made it active. She said extreme changes in the body, like a strong virus, something traumatic, or a pregnancy, because it's quite extreme, that can cause dormant genes to become active and active genes to become dormant. So my next question was, well, if I have another baby, can I turn it off?
Oh, yeah.
She said, I mean, in theory, but no, probably never happened before. I was like, okay, I'm just stuck with it then.
That would be interesting. The first baby activates it, and the second deactivates.
Exactly.
That would be okay. And how was it? All of a sudden, you are in a new country, as you said, new language, new gastronomy, also new everything. Yep. And in addition, the celiac disease. So it must have been hard to adapt.
Was really hard. It was really hard. And especially because, you know, you're spending hours in the shops just reading the back of labels and trying to recognize all of the different words that could indicate gluten. So I had, you know, a whole lot of new words I had to learn. And difficulty kind of communicating and explaining to people. And there's a lot of, I think, things that people don't know here. Like, for example, it's very common to have hot dogs at a kid's birthday party or at any kind of event. It's often served hot dogs. I do not like them, but that's just part of the culture here. They'll often serve it with a potato, like tortilla almost. It's made of potato. It's a flatbread. It's soft. And it has wheat in it.
So they roll it.
They roll the hot dog up. It has wheat in it. But because it's known as potato bread, people don't realize it has wheat in it. So I ate that a few times by accident early on. People saying, this is gluten-free, it's made from potato, and it wasn't. And so
it's homemade, or you buy it?
No, you buy them, So it just was a lot of education about how often I have to read labels, you know, and you have to read it for everything. And even like 2 weeks ago, funnily enough, I had a tin of tuna.
Yes.
Which I don't eat very often, but I had one in the cupboard and, you know, scrounging for some lunch. Didn't think twice about a tin of tuna, and I ate that, and I had a stomachache after, and I thought, what have I eaten?
It can have gluten?
Yes.
Because tuna is the only fish. Canned tuna
canned tuna. There was one type of tuna that I magically somehow bought that had like chili tomato sauce.
Okay. So if I buy it with olive oil,
but you just read the back. But it clearly said on the back, hvete, which is the Norwegian word for wheat. They had put wheat flour in this tuna. Bizarre. I don't know why, but those moments you get caught out occasionally where you think, surely not. Surely it could not have been the tuna. It was the tuna.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the obvious is the risk.
Exactly. So you're checking everything again and again and again, and eating out at restaurants. You know, a lot of people, especially when it comes to Asian sauces, and a lot of places, these, you know, they'll put Asian sauces on burgers to try and be trendy, but they say oyster sauce, of course, gluten-free, no worries. It's like, wait. Oyster sauce has soy sauce in it. Can you please go and check the bottle? And the amount of times I've asked restaurants to do that, and they've come back and gone, oh, you're right, it's got gluten in it. They don't know, because they're not, I guess, so used to some of these sauces or know about the ingredients of a lot of the sauces. Yeah,
and related to the obvious, let's say, I was in... near Christiansand in OBS supermarket, I think
Ops,
it is. Ops, And there, compared to other countries that I've been in, they have a big shelf of gluten-free food and stuff. And I found some products that I didn't know, and this is kind of exciting because I'm traveling and discovering new things. But they had chocolate bar that had gluten.
Yes.
But it wasn't on the gluten-free shelf.
Yes. because they put vegan products on the gluten-free
I
shelf.
hate that.
I've talked to store managers before and said, you can't put this here.
Yeah,
we are not dangerous. The same.
Yeah, we are not the same.
Yeah, but they've argued, well, it's free for, so that means it can be free from milk, free from gluten, free from dairy product, any kind of cheese, whatever. But it's really catering mostly for the celiac community, more than it's catering for the vegan community. But there's more vegan products than there are gluten-free products.
Yeah, this is another topic that, and it's a tricky topic because it's a very sensitive topic. But I don't like being compared with a vegan or a vegetarian.
Same.
Because
it's not a choice.
Exactly. I mean, if they eat, I like Spanish ham. Okay. And fortunately I can eat it with gluten-free bread, blah, blah, blah. But if they by mistake, they have cross-contamination with meat or whatever, they have no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
We have
a massive problem.
Struggle a lot. So that's let's go on with that. Okay. So you were here, Norway, coming from Australia, that for sure later on when you have gone there, you have realized how good your country is. I've never been there. I've always been told.
It's amazing.
But so besides the supermarkets and so on, how is it going out or finding or telling the waiters to cater you safely? Because at the end, social life can be affected.
So much so, I think there are so many more restaurants per person in Australia than there are in Norway. In Canberra, the city that I come from, apparently has the highest number of restaurants per person in the whole of the country, and Australia is known for having a lot of restaurants per person. There's a coffee shop in every single corner anywhere in suburbia.
How they survive.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Nobody has coffee machines at home,
you go take it.
They go and have a coffee every day. But it's always worth doing research. But there's so many people living with celiac disease, and there's so much knowledge about celiac disease. It's very easy to find information. So you can, just search and easily find a local cafe that specializes in it. Not all cafes do, not all restaurants do, but there are plenty that do. So you find the ones that do, and then you never go wrong. And I had, the most amazing gluten-free pancakes at a normal cafe.
There in Australia?
Yeah. And gluten-free waffles, gluten-free French toast.
That feels good.
It feels really, it is amazing. And then, you go to restaurants and you can order gluten-free dumplings, and you can order, anything you like, you can order gluten-free, provided you've done your research and you go into the right places. Because
there's also risk of cross-contamination in some.
So I did get gluten quite badly at the last restaurant we went to. My kids really wanted to try teppanyaki. Which is this Japanese style of restaurant where they, prepare the food in front of you on a big hot plate, and they throw food at you, and it's very fun. My kids had seen it on a Bluey episode and really wanted to go. And there was a teppanyaki restaurant. There's only one in the city, but I took them there. And I said in advance, I've got celiac disease. I can't have gluten. They said, that's okay. We'll swap out the sauces, and it'll be gluten-free for you. They swapped out the soy sauce. There was 4 other sauces I saw them using. No idea what they were. And I checked halfway through when I saw, having a lot of fun with the rice and everything. And I said, sorry, I just need to check all of these sauces gluten-free. Yeah, no worries, gluten-free. I was so ill after.
Really?
I'm convinced one of the sauces
So this can happen also in Australia.
Absolutely. And they were a bit blasé about it. Like, yeah, we told you it's gluten-free. Calm down. You're okay, kind of thing. And the Australian culture is very direct and very blunt, very nice and polite as well, but can be very direct. So I found them kind of, calm down, you're okay. Yes, it's gluten-free. You've already asked. Don't worry.
But it wasn't.
Well, clearly I was very sick after. I was ill for, weeks, if not months after.
Hello, Norway. That's maybe one of the Viking gods.
Maybe.
Okay.
So it can happen, but, I had the best gluten-free experiences, and I also had a really bad gluten-free experience when I was there in April. So it's still worth doing your research, for sure.
Still, Australia is like any other country. I mean, it's a good country for gluten-free, but you still have to be careful. This is a good message, because sometimes
it's the cross-contamination. They trained anytime you open a restaurant there, you have to complete certain certifications. One of them is allergy handling.
Yes.
And celiac is obviously probably the
one
most,
of them.
The top one that nuts and peanuts, obviously, because of anaphylaxis.
Yeah, that's one of the most dangerous too.
And they educate. So anybody who owns a restaurant absolutely has to go through these certifications. They should know.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's all about the attitude of the person running it, and whether they.
True.
I mean, they're not. This is the only teppanyaki restaurant in the city. It's not known for being gluten-free. It's known for being teppanyaki. All of the other places I went to were known for being good at handling allergies and or having a good offering for celiacs. And there was quite a few like pure gluten-free places as well, where they said 100% gluten-free, which was nice. So, you know, it's what you kind of seek out. I knew it was a risk going there, but I really wanted to go there for my kids and wanted to be part of it.
And you were told.
I was told it was big gluten-free, right? But as I was sitting there, I was getting more and more uncomfortable going, I think this is a bad idea.
Yeah. You had something in your mind saying, be careful. Yeah, I mean, sometimes celiacs, we are considered the I don't know how to say it in English, when you don't trust somebody.
Yeah, we're suspicious.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Suspicious because we ask a lot.
Yeah.
But in the end, we are the most trustful people because you end up trusting the waiter or the cook. So, and your health is on their hands.
100%. And I think they have no idea how severe the reaction can be. And you feel awful when you're sitting there quizzing some poor wait staff. Are you sure it's gluten-free? Did you check? Can you tell the chef that I've got celiac disease to use a new knife, use a new board? And you feel awful, but at the same time, if they had any idea the consequences if you don't, if you're not careful, and how sick you can get. And to be honest, here, like eating out is expensive. The restaurants in this town are not great.
Not prepared for.
Well, I mean, no. There's the one burger place it's like the most popular restaurant in town. They literally just do burgers.
Okay.
And they're good burgers and they're great with gluten-free handling, but that's it. And all of the other restaurants, like, I don't think they're particularly good in terms of their food offering, their menu offering. They're all very, very similar, and I'm expensive. So I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah. Okay.
I go out for dinners when I'm in other cities, when I'm traveling.
Okay.
But here we just mostly eat at home. It's safer.
So you were coming from Australia, where that you said that they have a big variety also of food.
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
food is a bit more homogeneous. Let's say it like this.
Australia also has they're safer. In Europe, and I'm not sure about the States, but it's 20 parts per million. Has to be under that to be gluten-free.
Yeah.
Australia, it's 5 parts per million.
Oh, really?
So the recovery rate for celiacs is higher in Australia. It's considered the safe. This is why it's considered
maybe
the gluten-free paradise.
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't you move back? I'm like, why don't I move back?
That's a message for you. No, just kidding. Not decided yet. Yeah, but 5. I mean, in Spain, it's 10.
Oh, I didn't know.
But because, I mean, in Spain we have like a battle between the federation of the associations that are most of them clustered in this federation, that this federation goes for the 10 and it's a certifying entity, let's say, and they don't put the FACE, Federación de Asociaciones de Celíacos de España, FACE, the acronym, the FACE label on the product unless it's tested less than 10% ppm.
Wow, oh, that's good to know,
But yesterday I was in Extra and I saw this Isbjorn beer, I think. Yeah. But it says 20 ppm and I was like,
interesting.
Yeah, but that's true, so 5 ppm.
Yeah.
This is good.
In Australia, to get the gluten-free label. And I noticed you can go... just like the instant gravies in Australia is a weird product, but I really like it. Yeah. You can go right side by side. You look at the back of these 2 identical cans and they have the same ingredients. One is marked gluten-free. One doesn't have a gluten-free marking.
Okay, so there you also have to check the...
But I mean, they have to, I think, prepare it in a different location to where they prepare their normal goods because of to get the gluten-free rating. Whereas here, like if it doesn't have gluten clearly marked on it, gluten-free, I'm happy. But in Australia, it has to be clearly marked gluten-free.
This is something I struggle with because in Spain, you find the gluten-free label almost everywhere also. But in the rest of Europe, you don't. No. Czech Republic, I was very surprised. Oh. They have it quite often too. Yeah. But Germany, France, it's I don't like it because
you don't know.
They hate celiacs, I think. But it's a personal opinion. I'm not saying they do this, but it's
hard.
So difficult.
It is hard. Yeah.
Italy is quite well too.
Yeah.
Germany, hard. Denmark,
Yeah.
very difficult. Here, I don't know yet, but yesterday I was buying, and to find gluten-free written, it's so difficult also.
Well, it's only in that one section. And so I buy a lot of products that are not marked gluten-free, that just don't have gluten on the label. Like tuna. You're never going to get tuna marked gluten-free.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
But
or
you'd read
water,
the label and
yeah.
you go, you know, okay, tuna and oil and salt, whatever, fine, good, safe. But it's tricky. Whereas I was so surprised in Australia to have these two, the ingredients were identical. Just one had the gluten-free marking and one didn't.
Because of the process of manufacturing.
Exactly, because I would have naturally just bought the one that wasn't marked gluten-free had I, you know, not known that I could have had one that was even safer.
And usually ingredients are the same.
Yeah.
But then you look a bit below on the shelf and you see the price and it's not the same.
Exactly.
I don't know if Australia is the same, but...
Well, Australia is actually surprisingly cheap for some gluten-free products.
Okay.
But others can be really high. So if you're trying to buy like organic flours that are gluten-free, you know, obviously they're going to cost an arm and a leg. But in the last few years, actually, what surprised me as well, going back, so I went in April, and it was 4 years before that I had been, so before COVID.
Yeah.
The supermarket prices of everything has doubled in those last few years.
Because of
after COVID, after the pandemic, they're doing big inquiries. The government's
put everything up.
Everything up. Yeah. But it's still like Australia. It's got so many people. There are so many Australian-made products. I think there's a lot of it. It's a strong food market in Australia. So there's a lot of people manufacturing products for Australia, and there's a lot of encouragement to buy Australian-made. So because of that, you can get Australian-made gluten-free anything, really, which is amazing. You can get gluten-free spring rolls in the freezer section, gluten-free meat pies. You can get any different kind of gluten-free pasta your heart desires, any noodle you like. The breads actually, surprisingly, were not that good. The bread here is better. I think the
here in Norway.
Well, I mean, I've tried every single bread in the supermarket. You know, as you do, trying to find the one you like. And I found that the breads here overall were better than the bread offering in Australia. The breads were not that good.
Okay.
Surprisingly, but everything else was great.
Yeah.
Just the breads were a bit kind of. I don't know, it's because maybe they can't use wheat starch, whereas here Semper and Shah use wheat starch.
For regulations or...
Maybe. And so then like that affects the texture and the flavor quite a bit. But I didn't rate the bread at all. I tried a lot of different ones. But the croissants, pretty good.
In Australia. I'm so really looking forward to get there. But it's going to take me a few months. So coming back now to Norway, because we've been talking about Australia, and I mean, if you keep talking about Australia, it's going to be my next country. I will skip the rest.
Worth it. It's definitely worth it.
But Norway.
Yeah.
You said that you eat a lot at home.
Yes.
Yesterday, for example, you were preparing this gluten-free treat that, again, I felt awful because you had to ask so much about my allergies and
no, but can you imagine if I hadn't? And then I make you something and you can't eat, and then you feel uncomfortable? No way.
I know, but I mean, I still feel it was like, oh, now I have to limit. But so you bake a lot at home?
Yes. I mean, I'm not the best baker in terms of things that are traditionally full of gluten, because I've tried a few times and you fail so often I lose motivation. But I cook a lot, and I love making different types of desserts, especially ones that are naturally gluten-free. You know, so we eat a lot of cheesecakes and pavlovas and ice cream cakes. Anytime my kid has a birthday, it's ice cream cake, because I can easily manage that. I don't have to try and figure out a gluten-free option.
Find the good recipe.
Yeah, but I try to kind of get a little bit creative. I cook a lot with almond. This is an almond flour tart. I try to do a lot of things like that, and things that I like to eat. And I don't have the sweetest tooth, so I'm not, you know, always trying to make different chocolate croissants or you know, different cakes and things. I mostly try and stick to things that were easily gluten-free anyway.
Okay. And is this the kind of the start of your profile in Instagram, or?
Yeah, it hasn't been going very long at all. More to just, I discovered that when I had people over for dinner, some of the food I was preparing and some of the desserts I was making were quite different to anything they had experienced before.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of opinions about gluten-free life in Norway. So I thought if I can build up a bit of a social media presence, maybe I can use it for advocacy, for more product availability, and start talking to some politicians, because it is a political issue here, even though a lot don't recognize it as a political issue, because there's government support. Money, so for those who don't know, you get £700 or €70 a month for having diagnosed celiac disease.
Yes.
So if you have a gluten intolerance, it's not celiac disease, you don't get the support.
Okay.
And they do that because it's considered medicine. Gluten-free food is medicine, but there's no other medicine that you can have
the diet.
for it. Yeah, exactly. It's a mandatory diet. Having said that, forces the prices here to go sky high. There's very little product availability. A lot of the brands on the shelves. There's a lot of them.
We'll finish it.
A lot of the brands are supermarket owned, so they will only have their brand on the shelf.
Like private label. Yeah.
Private label only have their brand on the shelf, and whether it's good or not, that's the only one you can buy at that supermarket.
I've seen a lot of this in Coop.
Yes.
It's everything theirs.
It's Coop.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Coop is it's cheap and the products are actually good. Rema 1000, that's Rema 1000, has the same thing where they've got Goodly, which is their own brand, across all the shelves. And a lot of the Goodly products are terrible. I've never had worse pasta in my life. And that's the only one you can buy at the local supermarket, which is only a few meters from my house. So to get pasta, I have to go to other places. To get bread, I have to go to other places.
You've got many here, which is also scary in prices.
It is. And so the menu is 3 times what you'd really need to pay for anything. But at the same time,
for
you
everything,
could always
or
find
only gluten-free?
Not for everything. It's an expensive supermarket in
kind
general.
of gourmet.
It is,
Okay.
But I mean, if you want, certain cuts of meat, then you have to go there, because these supermarkets only sell, a few basic different cuts. They sell a lot of them.
Target group is different.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you want, to have a really nice barbecue or something, you really need to go to Mini to get the right food. They've got their vegetables are much fresher, much better at Mini than they are at the local, but they're more expensive. So exactly. So you kind of need all of the supermarkets, and thankfully there's a lot of them. There are a lot of. I noticed that living in Australia before, you have to drive 10 minutes to the supermarket. Here, I've got 3 within walking distance. Mm-hmm. So but that was why I started it, because I thought if I can present some new, different ideas from what maybe people are used to in Norway, also help travelers that come to Norway. I get a lot of requests from different travelers asking questions. Happy to help, because I know what it's like. And it's really useful, because I remember that when I texted you, I was in Germany or Czech Republic, I don't remember, but and you proactively send me here's some tips. This is what you need to know.
Here's some tips for when you arrive. I was like, wow, I wish everybody would do this. Sometimes it's so difficult to get information. It
is, or you have to go to blogs and dig through heaps of information. So I'm always very happy to help. So anyone traveling to Norway can send me a message and I'll happily give some tips and tell you where to shop. But so I thought if I can do that, then maybe I can affect change here eventually.
So what can we find in your profile?
Sure, you can find some easy baking recipes. So I cook a lot with almond flour, and I've also been experimenting with new types of flours, like cassava flour. I discovered actually tastes
saw yesterday
really
that
nice.
Some,
little bagels. So experimenting a little bit. I try to just come up with maybe dishes people haven't thought of, but generally fast, because I have a full-time job and I'm a mother of 2.
Which is a full-time job.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I'm never just hanging out in the kitchen for hours on end ever. So a lot of clean eating. I don't like eating processed foods. I don't like using a whole lot of packet things. I will never make packet sauces, for example.
Okay.
Other than instant gravy is the only one.
Okay.
So simple, fresh, but maybe food that for the Norwegian audience that they don't necessarily haven't been exposed to yet or haven't heard of yet. So I love making different Asian soups and different Asian dishes that are very popular in Australia.
So you are also bringing part of your culture here.
I'm trying to a little bit, because Australia has a very
more interesting.
And Australia has a very rich food culture, and I love food. I've always been somebody who just.
Why are we punished with this?
I know.
Why?
But this is just, I guess, attempt to share some of my culture with the country, and also then, as I said, maybe eventually affect some change and do some advocacy work to try and get more product availability here, because I think it's really poor when you go to places like Spain, when you go to places like Sweden that we talked about. We have so little compared to the rest of the world here.
Yeah. So, and you can compare with Australia, which would be the reference.
Well, Australia in the States is amazing as well. If you go to the US, it depends where you're in the US. My sister lives in New York, so spent a bit of time there. It's great. San Francisco, great. England, even going to London.
Yeah, that's true.
They can do anything gluten-free. You never have to ask, do you have something gluten-free? They will have something gluten-free for you.
Yeah. And why do you think this is? Is there maybe, I don't know how Australia works, but in Spain, I would say that it's partly because of the pressure, maybe of the associations, or maybe because Spanish are more sensitive with this, because maybe the amount of celiacs is higher. I don't know, because it's still 1%.
Yeah, right.
Statistically diagnosed, it's a bit less, or much less. Yeah. But why do you think here it's less?
I think
because Scandinavia is like a reference for Europe. Yeah, again.
They're right.
Are you getting wet?
No, I'm actually okay. I'm okay.
Okay.
Why is it different here? It's different here because I think the financial support you get totally affects then the way the supermarkets react to it. I think, and there's a bit of an acceptance in the gluten-free population that if you get this money, so therefore it's okay to pay high prices. Therefore it's we should just be grateful that we have products here now, because we didn't always have products in the past. So
you didn't.
Well, this is what people will say in the forums. If somebody says, this is really awful, this is so expensive, or I can't find this, there's a whole lot of people that always say, but we should be grateful. So this attitude of not complaining, I think, whereas Australians, we complain and we affect change all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
We might have to pause that.
Yeah. Oh.
Protect the food.
Yeah. Okay, so after this unexpected rain and cold, we had to move inside, and we were talking about your Instagram profile, and also that you're trying to increase, I would say, the awareness of celiac disease, and also the prices and so on, or
try and raise awareness of the fact that there are so many great gluten-free products available in other countries, and we have so little here. Okay. So what can we do to increase product availability? What can we do to increase awareness at different restaurants, and basically improve the offering for celiac here, because it's a lifelong condition. As you said, it's 1% of the population, and even more have gluten intolerance. So what can I do to make it better? Because then it's self-serving, it makes it better for me, but it also makes it better for anyone else living with the disease. And I know I have plenty of friends actually that have celiac disease. Yeah.
Okay.
There's quite a few people. So anytime you go to different, events and people say bring something, I will always bring quite a few different things that are gluten-free, because I know it's not just for me, it's going to be for other people as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And celiac safe, I guess, because a lot of people doing gluten-free don't necessarily do celiac safe unless they...
What do you mean?
Well, a lot of people who might make you a gluten-free cake might, use...
the cross-contamination.
Right, because if they don't live with the disease, then they don't know. So they don't necessarily make it safe for you in that way. So you think it's safe and then you get sick. So I want to always bring something safe for the people that need it. Yeah,
that's very important, because somebody with the good intention, they prepare something gluten-free.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it will be gluten-free.
Exactly.
Because it's maybe in the oven they have flour there or whatever from other bakings, or they prepare both in parallel, and then the flour mixes involuntarily.
Yeah. And a lot of people who live with celiac disease also have lactose intolerance and second intolerances as well.
Yeah.
And I lived with that for a long time and have managed to heal that lactose intolerance. But for that reason, I always try to prepare things as well that are lactose intolerant if you go into a big group. So then the people that can't have milk, or not even lactose, but just I won't put dairy in it. The people that can't have milk and can't have gluten have something to eat.
Yeah, and good looking, because the pastries you prepared.
I try. It's all about how it looks, right?
I want to try it. I mean, I haven't eaten it because it was really good looking on the setting, but I will take a bite for sure. And is there any association here that you...
There is.
I don't know, sign in or...
Yeah, so you can... There's the Norwegian Coeliac association, basically,
Yeah.
but you have to pay a membership for that. So I haven't paid a membership.
Okay.
I follow them on Instagram, and I follow their news stories as well, because they're really good at putting out great information. They do celiac camps, they organize celiac cruises. They do a lot of things like that. But
do they train restaurants, or?
I don't know, actually. I don't know what their role might be in terms of that.
Because in Spain they do, for example.
Right.
But I'm not sure if in any other country, Italy maybe, but I don't know.
I'm not sure. They often have put their tick of approval on different products, but not every product has to carry their tick of approval, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. So, and I mean, it's great for information about different issues about living with celiac in Norway, but it's, other than that, I don't know.
Okay, good. And how is it, and this we will start now closing, but how is it for your family living? I mean, your kids are well aware now of what happens to mom.
Yes.
No? Your husband is very empathic with you also, but how is it living at home and co-living with gluten eaters?
Yeah, I mean, I feel more for them than I feel for me. I feel nothing when they eat a piece of bread or have a pizza in front of me, and I have, my own pizza or my own bread that may be not as good. I don't mind, and also I never have to share my food, which is kind of fantastic. But for them, I feel for them, because they won't have a mum that makes them cookies the same way other kids might have a mum that makes them cookies. And I'm not making homemade bread and all of these different things that a lot of other parents might do. I make a lot of things, but they're always gluten-free. And coming home to having pancakes served or waffles, like I don't do that. I have a recipe on my Instagram for a puff pancake or a Dutch baby. That's the pancake I do for my kids, and I do it regularly, but it's like all in one go.
Okay. But it's different, but still.
Yeah, but I'm not standing there flipping, because here to have pancakes for dinner is like amazing. And people stand there and flip pancakes for half an hour. I'm not doing that.
Okay, but do you think they feel...
I think sometimes, but I mean, they have a wonderful grandmother who lives nearby who will do all of that with them.
Okay.
So I feel like the parent guilt of they're not, getting this normal childhood experience. They have to be so careful. They know they have their butter and I have my butter. As they're eating and they're talking, they can't spread crumbs far and wide, because I'll be protecting my food.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot of things that then we don't eat so much, because I can't eat it. They don't get to eat normal pasta, for example.
It's all gluten-free.
Always gluten-free. Yeah, I'm not doing 2 pots of pasta.
Okay.
So they've got great attitudes about it, and they don't complain, and they quite like a lot of the gluten-free food, no problem at all. But I do feel for them that they're missing out on a lot of the normal eating experiences that kids cherish, I think, as they get older. So I think that's hard, and even like when we go out for traveling, we go out to restaurants, I can be really picky about where we're going based on what I can eat.
Yeah, for the sake of the trip.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
At the end, if you feel bad, the
trip's over,
it's over, yeah.
So, I mean, they've learned to be very, very patient and very understanding, and they're very empathetic with me as well. They're very kind, and always want to make sure if we're going to someone else's for dinner, they'll ask preemptively, do you have anything gluten-free for mama, and so they look after me very well,
which is good. Very used to it. I think I mean as I see it, you have this parent guilt, as you said, that you're not giving them the childhood they could have if you would not be celiac, but in the other hand, they are caring, which is good for a kid too, because I don't know if they have also celiac classmates, but for sure they understand much better than the other kids.
Exactly. My son does have a celiac classmate, and she's there's a child that has nut allergies, and another kid that can't have milk. So the two of them they're so aware of it, and they're so educated as well, I think, on what people can and can't eat. So I think there absolutely is a benefit to that, and they learn a lot from that as well, for sure.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good. So I don't know if you want to share anything else about your profile or activities here that you've done in Norway. If not, I would ask you to close the interview with an advice.
Okay.
And here maybe I would ask for two advices,
Okay.
maybe. One, as a foreigner moving to another country and starting from scratch with what we said, new language, new everything. And thousands of kilometers far away, because I think Australia is the opposite of...
I don't know if you can get much further away than Australia. So, maybe Oslo to New Zealand is a bit further, but otherwise it's so far away. Yeah.
Still very far away.
Yeah.
So one advice for this, and the other one as a celiac mom living at a house with... I said before gluten eaters, and it sounded pretty weird. Sorry.
I mean,
but yeah,
I call them gluten
with non-celiacs.
Yeah, non-celiacs. Okay, so moving to another country from scratch, I think my best advice is to be patient and not to give up. I think when you first move, you recognize the cultural differences on one level, but after you live here for a few years, you understand them in a totally different way. And I think initially I had an idea of I say yes to everything. So if somebody asks, let's have a coffee, I don't care who they are, I'm going to say yes. If somebody invites me anywhere to do anything, I'm going to say yes. And I did that, and I'm an extrovert, so that's very easy to do that, you know. And that was great. That got me through the first few years, and I built some friendships. But it took a long time to kind of build what I would call a community and friendships that go beyond surface level as well. And so, and that has to do with learning the language as well. Obviously, in Norway, everybody speaks perfect English. But once you understand the Norwegian language, you understand the culture so much better as well.
Of course, yeah.
And the different phrasings, the different way they put things actually tells you a lot about, I guess, how Norwegians naturally think about things. So there's that. Obviously, the food culture here is very different from the food culture I grew up with. And I think my way of coping with that was not to go deep into Norwegian food culture, but was actually to just continue to enjoy food the way I had always done. And that incorporates more new cultures into the food, but it also, you know, doesn't compromise what I love to eat and what I love to do. And then rather than try and become a Norwegian mum, I tried instead to just be me and invite other people to experience my food culture that I brought with me. Like a lot of people, when you move to a country where the English or your native language is so strong, whether it's English or Spanish or whatever, you know, it's very easy to not learn the local language.
That's true, yeah.
But I've and it's very common here for foreigners to not learn to speak Norwegian if they can speak English.
Do Norwegian people dislike the fact that you don't learn their language? They don't care.
I mean, they're very pleasantly surprised when you can speak Norwegian.
Okay.
And they say, "Oh, you're different." Because it's very common not to learn. And I think because their English is so good, you know, you can't match that level of perfection in Norwegian, you know, so they will then prefer to speak English with you rather than you speaking Norwegian. They learn it from the, you know, preschool age, they start learning English, you know, and all the media is in English. So the English here is incredible. So, but I think by learning the local language, you understand the people better. And of course, even if you don't choose to speak it, you know, I think if you understand a culture, you can navigate it better. And I think that was one thing that took me a long time to figure out, is actually like this culture is very, very friendly, very warm, very open, but at the same time, very closed, very traditional, very set, a lot of unspoken rules. So once you understand those, I think it's much, I could navigate so much better. But I've been here 8 years. You know, it's a long time now to live in one place. I think I'm more Norwegian sometimes than I am Australian anymore.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's my Norwegian advice. Don't give up and learn the local language. And don't lose yourself in it, you know. Maintain who you are in that culture.
And in terms of celiac, well, it doesn't count because you were celiac here. You were diagnosed here.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah. But in adulthood,
how
did you manage these all changes on the diet?
Yeah.
No
so,
bread, no croissants, no.
Like it was, I mourned the loss of gluten. I think somebody said to me a long time ago, long before I knew I had celiac disease, that they thought I had quite an emotional attachment to food.
Okay, that's good.
I think it's very true.
Food makes people happy.
Yeah, right. And you know, when you go to a restaurant, you get something disappointing. Like I would be so devastated.
Yeah.
So I think, funnily enough, that then I was very affected by the diagnosis. I found navigating gluten-free food really difficult. It was really difficult to find good products. I still, anytime I go to a supermarket, I don't usually go to, I scan the shelves just to see if there's anything new or exciting that I have to buy and try. But no, I think in time it just gets easier. The pain of not having gluten gets less.
You get used to it.
You get used to it. You don't miss it so much. You know, and certainly when you get sick from it, you know, you almost start hating gluten because the effects can be so awful for so long. So I think it's more, the trouble I still have is somebody invites you to a barbecue and you bring your own meat, and there might be shared salads or whatever. The salad's fine, safe, no problem. But how do you navigate using a barbecue? That people put burger buns on all the time. And I researched recently, they say it takes 30 minutes at 400 degrees to burn gluten to a crisp so that it's not gluten anymore. I don't know if that's true. I need to say I don't know if that's true, but that sounds extreme. I think, how do I navigate a barbecue?
Yeah,
do I have to put everything on foil? You know, certain barbecues that aren't that hot, the foil, you know, it takes forever to cook and it gets kind of soggy.
Yeah.
You know, so what do I do with that? A lot of the time, my solution has just been to prepare something that's not barbecue food in a container and slap it on a plate once everyone's serving up their barbecue food. And you kind of feel like you're part of it, you kind of don't. So that's still one I'm still trying to figure out, what is the best way to navigate that. That's tricky to me, barbecues. Which is big in summer. Everybody has barbecues.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And mom.
Yeah.
Advice.
Mom advice for living with children that don't have allergies.
Exactly.
I think you're passing a bakery with really good croissants, you buy the croissant.
For them.
Yeah. You know, so I don't want them to feel that they're missing out on things. I don't want them to feel that they're having less than what other kids around them are having, and they're not spoiled at all. They're not at all. But I want to give them as much of the joy of gluten as I can when we're out, because they don't get much of that at home. Funnily enough, my daughter actually prefers a lot of the gluten-free options to the gluten options. Yeah. She thinks the gluten-free bread I have is nicer than the bread they have from the supermarket. She likes gluten-free pasta. She likes a lot of things that are gluten-free. So she's also part of your diet, let's say. Yeah, you know, because if we run out of her bread, you know, she might have a piece of mine, and then she's, you know, thrilled. Okay. So it's kind of funny that she has that perspective. She's 8. I think my son's a little bit wiser to know that the better things have gluten in them. But
yeah, of course. You know? He's older.
He's older. He's 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, Trisha, thank you so much for your time, for hosting me here, and also for having different spaces to make the interview. Yeah. And as she said, if you change country, be patient, integrate in the culture, learn their language to understand them better. Yeah. And you will have a bigger experience.
I think so. Yeah, richer experience.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sometimes my English is warm.
It's great. It's great.
And as a gluten-free diet started in adulthood, also patience, and you will end up accepting that gluten is not good for you, so you will not miss it that much, because when you get glutenate,
it's awful.
It's so bad.
So bad.
And as a mom, as you said, make them part of your experience, but don't deprive them from things that they can eat, because at the end they also have to enjoy them. Yeah. Good. Trisha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you have any doubt about traveling gluten-free in Norway, gluten-free in Norway,
happy to help.
She's happy to help. And we see us in the next video. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Go.
Done.